Prepare to be horrified, because in this video we'll explore some of the most catastrophic dam failures ever caught on camera. So get ready to be washed away on this wild ride of an episode on Disaster Zone. Located in northern India, the state of Uttarakhand in the Himalayan foothills is renowned for its scenic beauty and vulnerability to natural disasters. The region benefits from a large river system fed by the glaciers high in the Himalayan mountains. Taking advantage of these rivers are several hydropower stations, having large dams in place to generate electricity for the region. However, on the 7th of February 2021, an unprecedented disaster struck Uttarakhand, leaving behind a trail of devastation. High up in the mountains, a huge section of Himalayan glacier broke free and free fell more than a mile to the canyon below. The iceberg, measuring 1,800 feet wide, hurtled into the river system at 134 miles per hour, setting violent surges of water rushing through the steep Himalayan mountain gorges. This surge burst through several Hydroid dams, releasing a catastrophic deluge of water hurtling down towards local villages below. The impact was devastating, with entire villages being swept away or totally submerged. The loss of life was significant, with many workers being trapped in tunnels. This harrowing footage of the Tapovan hydroelectric power project being hit by the surge shows several workers desperately trying to escape the flood. Unfortunately, they were powerless against the almighty torrent of mud and ice and were swept away with tragic consequences. The rescue and relief operations were immediately initiated, with the combined efforts of local administration, the armed forces, and disaster management. The teams rescued people who were trapped in tunnels and hopelessly stranded, and started to recover the bodies of those unfortunate souls who didn't survive. The Uttarakhand Dam disaster highlights the importance of balancing development with environmental concerns. But this is more challenging with our next case, because this dam is holding back more than just water. On January 25, 2019, a devastating disaster shook the Brazilian town of Brumadinho. The cause was an iron ore tailings dam operated by Vale SA Mining Company that catastrophically collapsed and unleashed a deluge of toxic waste into the valley below. And this isn't the first time this has happened. At first, there were no signs of danger, but when the dam walls began to crumble, videos capturing the scene showed a vast torrent of mud and debris barreling down the hillside in an unstoppable wave. Within minutes, hundreds of homes had been destroyed, leaving many people stranded and buried under rubble with nowhere to go. Tragically, as news spread over the following days, it became clear just how much destruction had been caused by this man-made disaster. More than 250 people were killed and hundreds more were missing or injured as rescue workers struggled to locate survivors amidst the damage. In addition to the tragic human cost, thousands of animals were also killed in what conservationists have described as one of Brazil's worst environmental disasters in decades. This is due to the immense quantities of toxic sludge that filled up rivers and streams for miles. For many communities surrounding Brumadinho, life will never be the same again. Homes have been destroyed, whilst families are left devastated by their loss. Our next case also goes horrifically wrong when the dam's only working diversion tunnel completely collapses. The Hydroid Tuango Dam, located on the Cauca River in Colombia, was in its final phase of construction in 2018. It was a hydro dam standing tall at 225 meters with 8 turbines to generate electricity for the region. The project was scheduled for completion by the end of the year. However, during the preliminary construction phase 7 years earlier, there had been 3 temporary diversion tunnels built specifically to channel water from the Cauca River around the dam project. These tunnels had been very efficient, but as the project was only a few months from completion, the construction company decided to block up 2 of these temporary tunnels with concrete before the emergency spillway had actually been built. This left only 1 diversion tunnel still usable, but now under tremendous pressure. Unfortunately, due to the immense pressure, it collapsed, leaving the reservoir filling up at an alarming rate. The area was experiencing very heavy rains, and this was threatening a breach of the dam. At this point, a state of emergency was declared, forcing the evacuation of 13,000 people who were living within the dam's area of influence. Engineers desperately attempted to reopen the two closed tunnels with explosives, but their attempts were unsuccessful. By the 10th of May 2018, the reservoir had reached a critical level and immediate action was now needed to avoid a breach of the dam. Engineers agreed to allow the water to flood the powerhouse, using it as a diversion pathway through the structure.
The reason why we had to deviate through the engine room was to prevent the water from rising and not have it go over the dam.
This did reduce the water levels, but also resulted in irreparable damage to electromechanical equipment that was placed inside the powerhouse. This came at an immense cost. 2 days later, the collapsed tunnel naturally reopened without warning, sending a torrent of water downstream, devastating towns and villages. This deluge of water destroyed homes, schools, and infrastructure whilst displacing an estimated 25,000 people.
My hands are tied. I don't know how to make a living moving forward.
But it's not always the large dams that are capable of inflicting large amounts of damage, as you'll find out in our next case. The Oroville Dam is an earthen dam located in Oroville, California, USA. It's the tallest dam in the United States and one of the largest earth-filled dams in the world, at 770 feet tall and 6,920 feet long. In February 2017, it was the site of a near-catastrophic collapse due to heavy rainfall and a fracture in its auxiliary spillway. The incident began when more than 12 inches of rain fell over the course of 3 days. This caused an erosion that led to a large hole forming in the spillway and bringing it near collapse. Even worse, engineers found that part of an emergency spillway was also eroding rapidly as outflows from Lake Oroville reached its limit. As a result, local residents were asked to evacuate immediately due to concerns that if either spillway failed completely, up to 100,000 people living downstream could have been endangered by flooding.
I panicked and just started putting things in my car, basically my violin, a didgeridoo, some family photos.
We thought we were okay, and then all of a sudden, bam, you need to leave.
To address this situation, engineers quickly released water down both spillways while simultaneously making attempts to plug up gaps with rocks and other material. Ultimately, their efforts were successful as no major structural failure occurred at either spillway, despite heavy damage being sustained on both structures. In total, more than 180,000 people were displaced as a result of this incident, and over $1 billion worth of damage incurred by local businesses and communities downstream due to minor flooding. And it was poor maintenance that was the cause of absolute carnage in our last case. On August 17, 2009, the Sayano-Shushenskaya Dam in Russia suddenly ruptured and collapsed. The dam was one of the largest hydroelectric dams in Russia, and the destruction wrought by its failure was absolutely catastrophic. The force of the collapse was so powerful that 75 people were killed as a result of it. Equipment and heavy machinery were destroyed, along with 4 entire turbine halls which flooded and caught fire soon after they filled with water. The estimated damage of the failure runs into the billions of dollars, but that doesn't even tell the full story. 30 million fish were killed due to their natural habitats being disturbed, and several endangered species of birds lost their homes as well. The cause of this disaster is believed to be faulty maintenance. Prior warnings had been given about structural defects in both concrete and steel components, but they had not been addressed in time to prevent this tragedy from taking place. In response to this tragedy, Russian officials have made a priority to strengthen safety regulations for all dams located throughout the country. Meanwhile, engineers are working hard to restore power back to millions of homes who have been left without electricity since that fateful day in 2009, thanks largely to one devastatingly tragic dam failure that was caught on camera for everyone around the world to witness. So, which of these dam failures was most shocking or most preventable? Let us know in the comments, leave a like and subscribe. Until next time on Disaster Zone.